All right, guys. Once again, we are back to do our weekly Attack on Titan episode review slash discussion, whatever you want to call it. Today we have episode 9. A pretty low key episode, but I think had some nice background to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The Brave Volunteers. As always, spoilers for the anime, not for the manga. Yeah, I think it was good to get some more depth and really learn some more logistics. I think that's a word that's been thrown around a lot between us about how some of these things worked. But they do in fact have radios, and now we sort of know more about who Yelena is, how that relationship formed. So yeah, it felt good to fill in the gaps, but there was probably no moment where I was like,
yeah, definitely. There was maybe like one moment that I was kind of like, oh, like this is pretty cool, but the rest of the stuff was pretty just, yeah, like you said, filling in the blanks along the line.
yeah, was because this is more like opinion stuff. Like, how did you feel about the whole like Nicolo guy? Uh,
I
they
liked it.
focused on him like a little bit throughout the episode. I don't know if that was setting him up for later or just they wanted to build up this character. I felt kind of weird to me to just introduce this guy and have him only appear in that episode and have him appear in like 2 minutes worth of episode. And I don't know, it felt weird how much of a focus he got.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense that they're building up to something with him. I'm not really sure what it is. I think it could just
Mhm.
be as simple as them like wanting to make more kind of emotional, like make it more emotional that Sasha died with like someone that kind of like they kind of hinted at like he was like interested in her romantically, you know?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think last time we said that it was probably the worst episode, but I would probably say that again, maybe.
Yeah.
um,
But I mean, once again, it's a relative term, you know?
yeah,
It had to go down. We had to crash at some point. But still, I think really like high quality episodes nonetheless.
totally. Yeah, so let's get into it. So the first thing from this episode that I think is of note is right in this scene where the anti-Marley forces sort of take over the ship and show their allegiance towards Paradise, or like at least not towards Marley. Yelena has this line: "Hanji, I'd be happy to accept your invitation. Let's have tea." They're shocked, but then she says, "I've longed to meet you, Eren."
Mhm.
And as always, things could be just throwaway lines, but I do feel like there's something more here. Like, why would she particularly say that? She was revealed to be like a follower of Zeke's in the previous episode, and I think that maybe this just contributes to the idea that Eren plays a large role in Zeke's plan, which we do clearly get from this episode. But um, I guess, does this provide any evidence towards Zeke like caring about Eren?
Hmm. I will say, this kind of, now that you mention it, kind of ties in something that I noticed later on in the episode where Yelena's acting kind of like sus. I mean, granted, it is when they're all pointing guns at her. I think that scene they like pan in on her face, and she has like a very distinct, a very like sus face on her. I don't really know how to describe it, but it just she seemed off right there.
Yeah, I do agree. Yelena has been pretty sus throughout these two episodes where she's been talking. I do think that like long term, she's not going to be super loyal to
Yeah.
Paradise. Just going to be loyal to Zeke, whatever that means. Yeah, I wanted to bring attention to this line because I feel like this could come up again at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they are building up to something here.
And I will actually cut to a different part in the episode that I think is related that I noted. Right. So just this line: "I appreciate your graciousness, but don't I get to meet Eren first?"
Mhm.
It seems like they're like really trying to get like alone with Eren, both Yelena and Zeke, this sort of faction, where it feels like there might be some sort of like Reiner Bertolt-esque like, "Hey Eren, like abandon your friends, come with us. We've got this great idea." Except it kind of feels like Eren might go with it now because it involves like it, or it seems like it'll involve the rumbling, or if that's what they called it.
Yeah, it's
Um,
It seems like I think they talk about this later on in the episode. Zeke's whole plan is to like unleash the rumbling, I think is what they mentioned, to basically
Hmm.
threaten the rest of the world, to like leave Paradise and the rest of the Eldians alone. So it could just very well be that Zeke knows that like the people of Paradise, like Hanji and Levi and all of them, aren't gonna want that thing to happen because I think they talk about in the episode where specifically Armin is like, oh, like we should find another way. Like we don't want to be the devils that everyone thinks that we are. But I think, like you said, Zeke's gonna try to get Eren alone and be like, listen, this is the only way. They're not gonna agree with it, but we have to do it. And then maybe they're gonna take Eren away and unleash the rumbling.
Yeah, I think the main thing we can take out of this is that the Zeke clan is not on the same page as people like Armin.
Yeah, definitely.
Other quick thing to note, where Yelena and Onyancopon come from, uh, it seems that they both come from like countries that Marley was at war with at some point. Uh, you know, by Yelena saying this line, uh, powerless, Marley took our homes and forced us to be soldiers. Uh, so I think we can tell that Onyankopon is not Eldian, but
Yes.
it wasn't entirely clear that Yelena wasn't. And given this show's freaking focus on Titans, uh, I think that is like an important detail. Clearly, there are other nations out there whose people look like Eldians, but
Mhm.
Yelena particularly looks like an Eldian. Um, I don't know. She's like a particularly tall woman, though, so I don't know if that's another implication that she came from some other land. But yeah, do you think that there's a chance that Yelena's an Eldian, or
I mean, based off what she just said, I feel like she wouldn't have any there wouldn't really be any reason to lie about that, I don't think. Because if anything, her not being an Eldian makes more of a divide between like the people like Hanji and Levi that she's talking to and her. So if this says anything, we at least know that like she's not going to be able to turn into a Titan, Yelena, if she is an Eldian, which I think it's pretty safe to assume.
I will? Yeah, I do think this is in like crackpot theory land, but I will add two more things to it. One is that she seems very devoted to Zeke's cause, whose whole thing is about Eldians and
Hmm.
saving Eldians. And sure, she should have the empathy that her people were probably killed by Marleyans, and I can see why that would translate to feelings for Eldians. But that is one point that makes me a little feel like she could be an Eldian. And the other thing is that it would be a strategic advantage for them not to know that she's an Eldian, because I mean, Eldians can turn into Titans, and they might do something, right? Like leave her alone with the serum, uh, and then who knows what would happen.
Yeah, that is a fair point. Yeah, so I think the next thing that we get clarified in this episode is exactly what the whole plan was as far as the attack on Marley and why I think Eren went by himself, knowing that they would follow. I think in this scene, it's pretty clear to see that most of the Paradise people are not against working with Zeke. They know what he did, and that leaves a bad taste in their mouth, rightfully so, I think. But we can see later on in the scene, Eren's talking with Armin, and it's pretty clear that Eren is at least agreeing with what Zeke was wanting to do, and that he's pretty set to fight the Marlians because he knows that if they don't, then they're kind of put in a bad position, and Marlians can just come and ruin their lives. So I think the whole plan, as far as the attack on Marley, was just that it was just an extraction mission to get Zeke pretty much and cause chaos and buy them time by them destroying the port so that Marley couldn't come and attack them later on.
Yeah, we still don't know when Eren left
Yeah.
and when people got there and stuff, but it seems generally cleared up now. So it seems then that Eren is in fact pretty cool with using the rumbling to
Yeah.
threaten the rest of the world,
Definitely. It
which
also it's probably safe to assume that him and like Yelena and all them went at the same point, and the rest of the Paradise people were like, no, like we don't really want to do that. But then they kind of their hand was forced by Aaron.
yeah, yeah, I think the the two factions of Paradise are becoming a little bit more clear, or at least a bit more developed, because we have Eren and probably the anti-Marleyan forces, who are like, like I think very closely aligned with like the ideas that Zeke has. And then the rest of Paradise, which seems to be a little hesitant towards some of that stuff, and probably not entirely willing to go all out. And I think maybe two people that fall into that camp are Armin and John. We didn't
Yeah.
really see much of John this episode, but he has shown that in the past.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that this is a like I, I wouldn't say that Eren's at the point of no return, but I think that we know now like pretty much what his motivations are, and I don't think that there's any bigger thing that's coming.
Yeah, I agree. I think this kind of shows the motive behind what he did. And while I will say it's not the motive I was looking for to completely like clear his name, I think it's pretty clear that he thinks he's doing the right thing, and the right thing isn't too clear here.
Yeah, I mean he's really just survival mode. I think we see the in the final scene, if you don't fight, you can't win, pretty much. Uh, yeah, that seems clear as day. Like what's really driving him. It's this attack in his heart, the Assault Titan. I think another notable scene in this episode is the one with Armin, Mikasa, and Eren being at the shooting range and sort of chatting. And they're sort of talking about the morals of attacking Marley, and Armin's a little bit hesitant. Eren seems to be pretty all in and a hater of Marleyans. But they devote some, like, I feel like this scene is mostly about Armin, honestly.
Mhm.
And so, first off, there's this line, Armin, have you seen Bertolt's memories? And then he goes, huh, yeah, but there's nothing that seems helpful. What do you think Armin has seen in Bertolt's memories?
Honestly, I don't know what he would see that is helpful. So I feel like that line is pretty truthful. I just think, I mean, there definitely could have been things that would help with the future attack that he maybe withheld just to
Mm-hmm.
make it less likely to happen. But yeah.
I think the one thing that this episode sort of alludes to, though, is that he did see them like getting ready to attack Paradise,
Mhm.
because he attacks or he goes and talks to Annie about it. Um, yeah, to me it seems like he saw Annie and Reina from Bertolt's eyes and was able to sympathize with them a little bit more. So nothing helpful strategically, but I think that he, in getting Bertolt's memories, gained some sympathy for the Marleyans, or the Eldians who live in Marley, I guess.
Yeah, that very well could be true.
But then beyond that, uh, Eren seems a little bit hesitant. Is there anything really to say about this other than the fact that Armin's always been a little bit hesitant to do these crazy things?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that this scene here, yeah, it has a big focus on Armin, but I think it also just kind of cements the two opposing sides that we see throughout this episode. I think they flash back and forth to Armin talking to Annie a few times in the
Mm-hmm.
scene. We don't get to see Annie till the end of the episode, but we see that Armin's pretty hesitant, and he is regretful because that happened after the attack as to what happened. And then in the flashbacks we can see he's always been pretty hesitant and doesn't want to do it. And I think that on one hand shows his side of the story and all the people that agree with him, and then on the other side we see Eren, the people that are following Zeke and Zeke as well, how their point of view is that unless we fight them we're going to be destroyed. I think they're both pretty good arguments, and I think it's pretty difficult to say who is in the wrong, who's in the right. But I just think that this scene is there to do specifically that, show you the differing sides. I will say, actually, there is in like maybe 5 seconds a scene that I think holds a lot of basically there's a scene, it's right here, where Eren shoots a bullet and it pans straight to Sasha being shot in the previous episode. And I think that is pretty indicative of the fact that Eren is the one that killed Sasha, not in a direct way, but more in like a metaphorical way, because his attack led to Sasha dying. He essentially pulled the trigger on her death. I think that was a really cool scene that they showed that kind of metaphorically showed that.
Yeah, that was pretty striking. I think the final important scene in this episode is this one. Well, okay, there's other important scenes, but of note is they brought a lot of serums from Marley. Before we even talk about, Yelena being sus in this scene and what's happening, why would Paradis need a bunch of Titan serums?
Yeah. I've been racking my mind about this. And their plan definitely involves these serums, but I can't for the life of me figure out what they would even be trying to do with it.
You don't think that any Eldian general like Pixis would willingly,
Yeah.
use his own soldiers like that? One idea is similar to the like battle time serum that was used at the end of season 3, but why would you need so many? You like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's
I mean,
only 9 Titans.
mhm. It could just be straight up backup. I don't think there's enough for them to be turning people into Titans and using them for warfare. There's only there was a specific line saying that like, oh, this is all we could get. But it's more than they would need if they were trying to just like have reserves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I don't know who would be getting that and what Titan they'd be trying to get. So this, I mean, it could be playing to the fact that maybe Yelena is an LDN and is trying to take one of the Titans, or maybe that they are really trying to get all or all 9 Titans, but it seems pretty wasteful for them not to have gotten it when they were there. You know?
This pops into my mind right now, and I don't know. This seems legit. What if they're planning to eat Zeke?
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody likes Zeke in Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
He has this vital thing, which is royal blood, which is kind of why he seems important. But are they going to try to make Historia eat Zeke or something? Like,
Hmm.
that's the one thing that I think, or that I'm thinking that could be possible.
Yeah, I mean, as far as what they like, currently have on Paradise, I don't see what other reason they would have, unless maybe they're trying to pass on the female Titan as well.
Yeah, yeah, they
But
could totally be trying to pass on Annie.
yeah, once again, though, I mean, it doesn't seem like they would need like all that.
Yeah, but he does say we should manage time with this much, and maybe the order to Yelena and crew was just like get some Titan serum.
Yeah,
And,
that's fair.
yeah, but beyond that, how do you feel about the way Yelena acts in this scene?
There's something going on there.
Understandably so, though. Like she
Yeah.
should be mad at
Yeah.
Paradise for being this. Like they've been here for the past 3 years. They're
Mhm.
chill.
But I mean, also to be, to defend Paradise, like it is pretty dangerous what they're doing here, Like they have Zeke who could just turn a bunch of people into Titans around. So they would probably want to be pretty safe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
this
I
line
can
I
see
think
both
is the most
sides.
important one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll dine at the same table again soon. Are they both gonna die? Are they,
See,
are they? Yeah, yeah. There are maybe some other theories, but yeah, what's gonna happen here?
yeah, I mean, if you take that line at face value, basically saying like, "Oh, like we're gonna be allies, like you'll trust me again soon." Why that face? That face does not fit
Yeah,
that line.
and why that like ominous wording?
Mm-hmm.
What are
Yeah,
you trying to say?
yeah,
I just think it's clear that something sus is gonna happen soon with
yeah,
Yelena.
yeah. Even the lines with, I think, yeah, even the lines with Zeke show that there is something kind of going on behind the scenes, but I don't think anything too clear yet.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much everything that happened in this episode.
Pretty
Um,
much. We get to see Annie again, but we talked about that. It's
and she
nothing.
didn't see us.
Yeah, yeah, she didn't say us. Yeah. Well, I think that's about it. We'll see you guys next week with episode 10.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a more eventful episode. But yeah,